Welcome to Tell Me About Your Bike. Today we have a very special interview with a participant in the 2024 Trans-America Continental Race. Welcome to the show, Kevin Croft. How you doing?
Yeah, doing great, Wesley. How are you?
I'm doing fine. So tell us a little bit about this race. When was it? Where was it? How far did you ride?
Okay, well, it's a Trans Am bike race. It's held every year. It starts in Astoria, Oregon, and it goes 6,700 kilometers and finishes in Yorktown, Virginia. So,
Wow. And how
I,
many
uh,
days
I
did it take you?
I did it in 31 days, 23 hours, 1 minute. Not that I was counting. Sorry, 30 days. 30 days, 23 hours, 1 minute. Because I wanted to get in under 31 days.
Right. Wow. So, a month on the bike. So you were averaging what? Around 250, 300 kilometers a day?
It worked out 216 a day average, or 135 miles. Yeah.
Dang. Okay.
Uh,
That's some pretty impressive mileage. And what kind of bike were you riding?
yeah, it was a stupid bike. I don't advise anyone else to do it, but I was on a single speed. It's my Genesis Flyer, 2008. I bought it on eBay for around about $100, and I've spent more money on it than I'm prepared to tell my wife. So,
Did
so
you
yeah,
have to change the chain while you were riding?
I didn't change the chain. The bottom bracket did fail on me, which was annoying because it was after the Rockies, and I was at a place called Farmington in I think that's Missouri.
Uh-huh.
And I went to a place called, I must give them a shout out, Trans Am Cyclery. LT and Chris there, they sorted my bike out in seconds. There was like a well-oiled pit team. It was fantastic.
Wow. So, did this just, how much warning when you're riding? Were you starting to just get a little creak, or was it performance issues and it wasn't
There,
turning well? What
there was
was going
a
on?
lot. Oh, sorry. There was a lot of movement on my chain set, so I knew something was wrong. And like I say, that it just started towards the end of the Rockies, but it got steadily worse as I went through Kansas. And I had to do something. I wouldn't have finished otherwise. But I
Mm-hmm.
was looking. The trouble was, I was looking for bike shops, and you don't know if it's going to be a proper bike shop or if it's going to be a bike shop that just boutique type place that just sells the bikes. And but luckily, Trans Am Cyclery was excellent.
So, this isn't your first single speed you've ridden.
I've been riding single speed all my life. I mean, I was into BMX when I was younger, and I have had bikes with gears, but I much prefer the simplicity of
Uh-huh.
the single speed. I actually, when I was very young, my parents bought me a 5-speed racing bike, and I hated it. And I used to pretend to get a puncture on that so I could use my sister's single speed shopping bike for doing my paper round.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That I when I got into mountain biking about 20 years ago, I started with a single speed, and I actually did a off-road century in the Shenandoah Mountains of Virginia on a single speed mountain bike. Since then, I've moved up to a 2x11 on my mountain bike, so I have some
Yeah.
gears, but I can understand the allure of single speed. But what is it for you that what attracts you to single speed more than multi gear?
It's just the simplicity. Nothing goes wrong. There was guys who were spending. I mean, there was an Australian guy in front of me who I think he spent upwards of $2,000 trying to get his bike back on the road again. He had to his whole bottom bracket and crankset failed, and he had to have one shipped out, and the shipping itself was the best part of $800.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, so but I admire his dedication that he carried on with those kind of problems, and he just sat down. He waited a day or so for the it to be posted to him, and then got it fixed at the bike shop. But yeah, I had no problems like that. So I had a bottom bracket, but that's a an easy fix. It cost me $50, and that was it. You know, but
Wow. Now,
yeah, simplicity. That's the key to it. I love it.
so how did the single speed perform for you in the mountains? What kind of gearing were you running? And were you running different gears on the flats as opposed to the hills?
No, I normally ride 4817, and I live in a not a very hilly place, but it's the Lincolnshire Wolds. They've got some small hills, and 4817 I can handle around there. But I knew I'd have to compromise, and it's a case of compromising between spinning out on the flats and being able to actually climb these hills. I mean, I've never. I mean, when I first started, I was seeing hills 9 kilometers long on a 5% average. I've never seen anything like that in my life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I had a 4823, which just managed. I walked 4 times on the hills, and so I was quite pleased with that. But yeah, some of them was I was grinding out and really pulling on the bars to try and get up some of these hills. But yeah,
I
I did
bet.
it.
And where were
Like
the
I say,
hills the most challenging?
the Ozarks, without a doubt, in Missouri. Um, I've never seen anything like that, and it just goes on and on and on. I don't know if you've ever ridden through that area.
No.
Don't. It's hell. But yeah, it's the only time you're not going uphill is to go downhill to start the next uphill. It's just relentless, and I've never seen anything like it. But some of the hills were just mind-blowingly steep, and I genuinely think the eastern half of the US is harder than the Rockies.
Hmm.
The Appalachians is definitely harder than the Rockies, without a doubt. They seem to know how to go up a hill in the Rockies. They take it steady and take you long distances over it, whereas the in the Appalachians they just go straight at it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my experience too. So, was this a self-supported ride?
Yeah, it's we we're supposed to. The whole ethos of the Trans Am bike race is to go from west to east under your own steam. So you've got to carry everything you need. You're allowed to use anything commercial, like the bike shop in Farmington, and
Mm-hmm.
I was okay to use that, but it must be available to everyone. So if you've got your home somewhere along the route, you cannot go into your house and or have your family come out and support you in that way. If it's not available to everyone, then you're not allowed it. So I had all my gear with me, and this is I am a complete rookie. I've never done anything like this ever, and I had only a vague idea. I've read lots of stuff online on what I should be doing, but I overcompensated and I had way too much gear and I used hardly any of it.
What did you use the most frequently, and what did you use the least frequently?
Well, it was inner tubes. I, yeah, that was and I got a bad batch of inner tubes, which really upset me because I took out 3 spare inner tubes with me, and each one of them had a very slow leak on the valves, and I couldn't
Oh
work out
no.
where it was. Yeah, so I mean, you obviously sort these things, so I had to just repair the tubes in the old-fashioned way with glue and patches until I could manage to get these 3 spare tubes out of the way. Uh, but another thing was tire choice. I made a complete hash of tire choice. I went with way too soft, and I'd gone through the first tire by Yellowstone,
Mm.
and I put the spare on. I had a spare tire with me. Then I bought another tire, and I kept going through Yellowstone, but I was down to the canvas by the time I was getting close to Yorktown. I should have changed it out again, but yeah, these tires I picked, these Pirellis, were way too soft, way too soft.
What kind of a tire were you running? 700 by what?
I went for 25s, and if I was doing it again, I'd go bigger. Although the bike I've got, I'm not sure it'll take a 28, so I had to stick with the 25s. But if I do it again, I'm going to use gears. Much as I love single speed.
No, I hear you.
Yeah, yeah. I've done it once. I got the T-shirt, and but that's the thing with single speed. Like I say, you can do it. It just makes it that little bit more difficult. And most of the time, it's just cadence that's the problem. But when you get to a 20% hill, it's the steepness of the hill.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So what piece of gear did you use the least? What could you have left at home?
I could have left spokes at home, all sorts of stuff like that. I had something for everything. I had spare cleats for my shoes. I had, you name it, I took it, and it just wasn't needed. But it would have been, if I hadn't taken it, it would have probably gone. Do you know?
Right.
Yeah. So, but I had a very lightweight sleeping bag as well, with a bivy bag, and so that was my sleeping routine. And so I think I'd take a tent next time though if I was doing it again, because the bivy bag just didn't protect you from the mosquitoes, and they was just horrendous all the way through, right up until just before the East Coast.
Yeah, I've got a bivy bag that I've slept in Alaska and the Yukon, and I had the same experience with mosquitoes. So I actually went ahead and got the head net to wear over my head so that I could sleep.
Ah, right, yeah.
And put mosquito repellent on my hands and keep the flesh covered from them. But yeah, I hear you on the tent. That's definitely a neat one. So, what was the most challenging part of the ride?
Like I said before, the I had so many doubts when I first started out, and it was the mental issues. I doubt set in, and I just thought I'm out of my depth here. When I first started, that in the beginning was the real issue, because I mean I trained for this, but when you're working you can't train as much as you need to, and you're basically training on the ride. I mean I work offshore, and I trained as much as I could, and I wasn't ready. No way was I ready. And like I said, my mind was telling me just quit. It was mainly because everyone was watching me. My tracker was showing on the website, and I knew everyone would see me stop, and there was no way I was going to let everyone see that. So yeah, the mental issue was probably the hardest part, and then there was, like I say, the Ozarks. I had 2 days of absolute nightmare. It's but I enjoyed it. That's the thing. It's good to test yourself every now and again. It's and this was certainly a test. It certainly was. But go on, sorry.
Well, having done it once, would you do it again?
Absolutely, in a second, in a heartbeat. If I got the chance, and I'd have to convince my wife, Amanda, if you're listening to this, yeah, I would love to, yeah. But the thing is that the race has changed now. This one had a set route from they went along the US cycle route 76, the classic cycle route.
Yeah.
Now they are changing more like the transcontinental in Europe, where you have certain checkpoints and you have to meet these checkpoints, a certain number of checkpoints. I think there's about 3 or 4 checkpoints that you have to reach on the way across, and then finish up in. I don't know if they're going to change it to Washington or stay with Yorktown. So, but it's always going to start in Astoria. But like I say,
Gotcha.
the race has definitely changed. But if I was going to do it, I'd probably use the same route, the 76, which would mean I wouldn't be competitive, although I wasn't anyway. But
What would the benefit
yeah,
be of using the same route again?
just the fact that I actually enjoyed the route, and it was good because people saw, and although it was self-supported, there was what we was calling trail angels all the way along who would meet you on the route. My first one I met at the top of Lolo Pass, and I'd had a long day, and I was confident after that I could actually do the ride, because I went up Whitebeard Pass that morning. I did a really long ride. I forget how many kilometres I'd done that day, but it was one of my bigger days. And then I finished up on the top of Lolo Pass on the night time. And obviously it's getting dark, or it is dark as I get to the top of Lolo, and I hear this Kev, and I'm looking around. I can't see. And then I see someone in the right at the top of the hill, and it was a chap called Alan Murphy, who'd done the ride before, and he'd waited at the top of this hill for me to get to the top of it, 10 o'clock at night, and gave me he said, "Do you need any food?" I said, "Oh, yeah, I'll take anything you've got." And, he had bananas. He said, "Do you like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches?" I said, "I've learnt to love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches." And he opened the back of his car and made me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich from the back of his car. It was just absolutely fantastic. And like I say, I was almost in tears that this guy had just done this for me. It's so nice. And all the way through, there was areas where I met up with a few people, trail angels, who would cheer you on and wait for you at stupid times in the morning to see you go through. It's just incredible. Wow. But yeah, but like I say, to be at the top of that mountain pass at that time of night, just to say hello, basically to me, I couldn't believe it. It was great. But sorry, I forgot what the actual question was now.
No, that was a great answer. Thank you. So in closing, do you have any words of advice for anyone who would want to do the ride themselves?
Oh, blimey. Use gears.
Okay.
And go for the biggest tyres you've got, and go for touring tyres rather than racing tyres. And watch out for the dogs in Kentucky. I was bitten by a dog in Kentucky. Yeah. I mean, most people say, what's Kentucky famous for? Most people will say bourbon, racing, chicken, but it's dogs. They are a nightmare. What else can I think of? Don't break your hip before you do the ride. I broke my hip 6 months beforehand, and I was on black ice back home, and slipped on black ice, broke my hip, had to have a hip replacement, and I had to get back on the bike in about 4 weeks to try and do this the training.
Well, good on you.
But yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Kev. I really appreciate talking to you today.
Oh, it's been great. Thank you very much, Chris.